Mayor Pineda
Here.
and Councilmember White.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Ron, next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Up first is we have our employee introductions. Jody Novak, your Director of Development Services, is going first.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. I am happy to introduce to you our new employee in the Development Services Department, Alex Rodriguez. He is a building inspector in our building inspection team in the Building Services Division. He started with us on January 6th. He had moved out here from Texas, where he has a wealth of experience in building safety as well as fire services. He has spent many years in Texas, and he now calls the West Valley his home. When he moved out here not too long ago, he was working for another jurisdiction in the East Valley, so we're very happy to have him join us here in Avondale. And if you have any questions for him, please let us know.
Yeah, so the first question I have to ask is it the Cowboys? Are they your favorite team or? Cowboys. Okay, I didn't want to assume, but you never know from Texas. So now that you've been here a little over a month, going on a little longer than a month, what are some of the things that you've learned about this city as compared to other places that you've worked that let you know that this is the place to be?
A lot more structured, a lot more, my team is a lot more, it's more of a team than, I was just a body in my other municipality. It was, of course, a lot bigger, but this feels more like what I was doing out in Round Rock, Texas.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable here. I'm very happy with the team that I've chosen. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, and thank you for joining the team, and we appreciate you being here with all of your experience. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, next we have a proclamation who Pierre, our Director of Marketing and Public Relations, will start us off with, honoring our marketing and public relations staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. I'm Pierre Samari. I'm your Director of Marketing and Public Relations, and I'm joined here by my team from the NPR department. We wanted to be here today to acknowledge Government Communicators Day, which was celebrated on February 21st this year. As you know, it's commonplace to recognize various professions in government. So you have things like Engineering Week, which you acknowledged at your last council meeting. You have Parks and Recreation Month. You have Law Enforcement Month, and so on and so forth. And now you have Government Communicators Day. In this case, we only get one day. So the purpose of Government Communicators Day is to recognize the vital role of public communications in local government. At this time, I'd like to point out that it isn't just my department that's involved in communications. We do have various employees throughout the city who help their departments in the communications functions, from public safety to public works and parks and rec. So they are folks that are going above and beyond, behind the scenes, doing their best to highlight the contributions of this essential city function. These are just a quick overview of some of the many, many things we do. It's a diverse range of duties that we have within our department. So we are essentially the communications hub for media relations, digital media, graphic design and marketing, and branding services in Avondale. I want to take a moment to just highlight some of our successes. The marketing and PR department is one of the smaller departments in the city. We are essentially just 7 people handling everything from graphic design to photography to all your media releases, as well as the merchandise that you see in our visitor center. So last year we responded to about 1,500 projects for our departments. Our departments are really busy, so they keep us busy, which is job security there. We're very happy about that. Of course, you're familiar with our Rave magazine that's mailed to every single household in the city of Avondale. Right now it goes to 33,000 households and more as we keep bringing on new residents in the city. You see our Avondale-opoly that was designed for our visitor center, and that was done completely by our own graphic designer, Krista Wilson. We have a brand standards guide that was worked on really hard by the team, in particular Nolene, who's another graphic designer who's been with us for more than 20 years, working on all the beautiful graphics and brand that you see throughout the city. We help our departments with a lot of their hiring. And then you're familiar with WeRide. Our department was the one that created the branding and marketing collateral for our microtransit service that is not just utilized in Avondale, but throughout the West Valley. This is the team. And with that, Mayor, I'd like to turn it over to you for the proclamation.
Thank you so much, Pierre. And if you wouldn't mind, I don't want to put everybody on the spot, but we got to highlight your success. So would the team rise and be acknowledged? With that, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the role of government communications professions is to inform, educate, and engage their communities, and whereas robust communication in government creates trust and inspires residents to take action and be involved, and whereas government communications create relationships and call to action, build awareness and understanding through storytelling, engage and foster engagement on civic issues, and use all channels to include people in critical decisions, and whereas it is essential to have a strong communications in government because it's a foundational element of living in a democracy where citizens have the freedom to make their voice heard. And whereas Avondale's Marketing and Public Relations Department serves as the hub for the city's external communication to residents, visitors, and the business community. And whereas the city of Avondale is proud and has deep gratitude and recognition for government communicators' professionalism, dedication, hard work, commitment, enthusiasm, and sacrifice. Now, therefore, the mayor and city council do hereby proclaim February 21st, 2025 as Government Communicators Day. And the city of Avondale encourage all residents to recognize the members of the Marketing and Public Relations Department, along with other city staff, including public safety personnel who have dedicated their careers to ensure the city of Avondale has effective, impactful, and successful communication strategies that resonate and are relevant. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on to the next one, I want to let you know and council know we'll do some pictures. Not very often they get to be in the picture, but we'll get a picture with council and them as a group. So don't leave. We want a picture of all of you all. It doesn't happen very often, but there's several pictures that'll happen, but we'll wait till the last presentation.
Oh, okay, thank you, Ron.
Yep. All right, next up we have a presentation by the Department of Transportation. Kim Moon, your Director of Engineering, will introduce our guest from ADOT.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. We have a guest this evening from the Arizona Department of Transportation. I just want to take a moment and have them stand. Kimberly Larson will be our first speaker, but I just wanted to recognize her. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to the first speaker, Kimberly Larson, about Loop 101 at I-10 system interchange improvements, and then Gael Lima for State Route 30 improvements.
Thank you, Kim. Good evening, Mayor Pineda and City Council members. Thank you so much for inviting us to speak and have a chance to present on these projects this evening. I'm Kimberly Larson, Community Relations Project Manager with ADOT. I am assigned to the Loop 101 I-10 System Interchange Improvements Project. Quickly, I just want to also introduce the rest of our team that just stood, I should say. Rashida Hawk, Design Project Manager for both of the projects we're presenting on this evening. Greg Fly and Mike Chase. and the design project manager for the Loop 101 I-10 Traffic Interchange Improvement Project, Troy Ziglitz. So I will start with a project overview, including the timeline and the key elements of the planned improvements, as well as the public outreach and the construction, a little bit of information about the construction impacts. So the project encompasses the Loop 101 from Indian School Road to the interchange and I-10 from the interchange to 83rd Avenue. The project's purpose is to mitigate some of the existing and future congestion in the area, and to achieve that, several improvements will be implemented, which include a direct HOV ramp connecting Loop 101 HOV lanes to the I-10 HOV lanes east of the system interchange. A new ramp connection will also be created from southbound Loop 101 to 91st Avenue. A new combined southbound Loop 101 exit to Thomas and McDowell Roads, as well as the construction of noise walls where warranted throughout the project. And we are currently in the design phase, and we'll be wrapping up the final design very soon. ADOT and its project partners have held 3 public meetings during the development of the project between 2022 and 2024 to inform the public and gather input on the project. So I would like to share a brief video that will illustrate for you how the project will look once it is completed. And I believe, just a moment. So this is southbound on Loop 101, and as you'll see on the right, highlighted is the new combined Thomas and McDowell Road southbound exit ramp. The Loop 101 is being widened on both sides to provide room in the median for the new direct HOV ramp connection. And now we're going to turn and look at I-10 heading eastbound. And as we progress, you can see that small green area is the new exit to 91st Avenue from Loop 101 southbound. The eastbound I-10 auxiliary lanes coming from Loop 101 will be extended to the east to provide additional merging length, and the project limits end there at 83rd Avenue. And as I mentioned, we are currently in the final design phase. The team expects to conclude design here in the first quarter of the year, and the project will then go to advertise for construction bid in the second quarter, and we anticipate construction to begin this fall. We also wanted to mention that the project construction is programmed at $291 million in the MAG Freeway Lifecycle Program, funded through Proposition 400, the dedicated half-cent sales tax in Maricopa County to fund transportation approved by voters in 2004, and which was recently extended by voters. So with construction just around the corner later this year, I wanted to mention some of the impacts and what to expect when that happens. We will see periodic and overnight weekend freeway closures and restrictions, as well as temporary cross-street ramp closures that may last up to 60 days. This would apply to the interchange ramps such as McDowell and Thomas Road. The system ramps at the Loop 101 and I-10 system interchange would only require weekend and or overnight closures. There will also expected to be temporary closures and lane restrictions on some cross streets and frontage roads. And we'd just like to stress to the city that ADOT will avoid freeway restrictions and closures during those major events and major holidays in the area, and to provide, and we will provide advance notice on construction restrictions to our stakeholders and to the public throughout our various communication methods. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. If you have any questions on this project, our team would be happy to answer those at this time.
Are there currently any questions from council members? Councilmember White?
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you so much for the presentation. We really appreciate the heads up that there's going to be construction in the area. When I look at the feeder lane that comes off from Thomas Road that will also feed into McDowell, so we're combining two existing exits with one throughway now to have McDowell. And how is that closure going to impact the traffic, I guess, going southbound on the 101? About what time frame do you see that taking for that portion of the project to be completed?
I will say it's probably a little too early to predict the phasing of the project. When we have advertised and selected a contractor, we usually then at the start, outset of the project, we will hold a pre-construction meeting with stakeholders and the contractors. So I can't say at this time when that might happen. If you have, I'll invite Rashida and Troy to provide any other insight.
Just want to provide additional information to that, Honorable Mayor and member of the council members. So approximately we have estimated about 30 months of construction period. As you have seen in the presentation, it is beginning in fall after award of the contract. And then within the 30 months period, we have phases of constructions. And to answer to your question on the Thomas and McDowell combined, I will request our design manager, Troy, to provide more information on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council, and thank you for your question. Just to provide a little bit more context, Kimberly is absolutely right. Usually, ADOT likes the contractors to have some input into the phasing and traffic control of the project. What we have done as part of our design process is we have laid out a construction sequencing plan that would allow those ramps to be open for the most of the duration of the project. Now, we will need to have some short-term closures of those ramps. We would not close them both at the same time. So if we do need to close the Thomas Road exit for, let's just say a 60-day period. Actually, I'm going to back up. Thomas Road we're planning to keep open because we do have a hospital there in that general area. And so what we're trying to do is do some temporary paving to keep it around. We will need to experience some overnight and weekend closures, maybe a very short duration closure that would extend a little bit longer, but we would not close McDowell at the same time, and vice versa. There's a lot of traffic in that area, but the big benefit of combining those exits into one is it's going to remove a lot of that weaving from the freeway and help hopefully clear up a lot of that congestion as you approach the system interchange.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It is a safety concern. You hit the nail on the head with the hospital. I think the only thing we could possibly ask is once we know those mileposts, once the contractors are in place, if they could give us a tight time frame on that. And I'm sure that's what you're going to require of them anyway. So we'd just love for you to share that with us.
Absolutely. And I would like to follow up on one thing. You did mention major holiday or major events. The NASCAR races are considered major events, and they are listed in our special provisions that the contractor would have to keep the freeway open during that time.
And if I can just supplement in the end is during when we will get the contractor on board, we have a standard process in ADOT. ADOT resident engineer will have construction engineering and partnering meeting. And as partner of this project, City of Avondale representatives also will be invited. So they will be in the loop. If there is any traffic control, there will be advance notification process to Kimberly and other means and methods. So we just want to make sure that we are keeping everyone in the loop for any kind of impacts. Thank you.
All good. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember White said something that's important in regards to safety. And while many of our residents may not be utilizing the southbound lane in the mornings for work. They may for leisure and other things. Heading east, the bottleneck that occurs down at the bottom after the traffic is coming south, I think is going to be something that will at least allow for it to be a safer transition for our residents and those coming from other parts of the West Valley. So I'm sure while progress brings pain, it'll be something that our residents will at least find important as we move forward into the future. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. That concludes my time. Thank you again so much. I will now turn it over to Guy L. Luna to talk about State Route 30.
Okay.
All right. Mayor Pineda, Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Guy L. Luna. I am the ADOT Community Relations Project Manager who is assigned to the State Route 30 97th Avenue to Loop 202 improvements. I'll be covering in this presentation some background on the project, the selected alternative for SR30, planned improvements that are included in the project, as well as the project timeline. In November of 2017, ADOT held a public meeting to present the 4 build alternatives and the no-build alternative, and identified the recommended build alternative to be carried forward for detailed analysis and additional public input. In early 2019, ADOT recommended a build alternative for the SR30 alignment. That decision allowed ADOT to begin advanced right-of-way acquisition and some preliminary design work. This project is now in the final design phase. The map that you're seeing shows the project area between 97th Avenue and Loop 202 in orange. The project is located entirely within the city of Phoenix. However, future sections of SR30 between the future southward extension of Loop 303 and 97th Avenue are shown in green and will include work in the cities of Avondale and Goodyear, but are not included in this project. This map shows the project area for the SR30 segment between 97th Avenue and Loop 202 and includes locations of new cross streets, locations of new cross-street traffic interchanges in the green circles, new bridges in the light orange, and the SR30 Loop 202 system interchange in the blue circle. The future SR30 west of the project area is shown as a gray dashed line. This SR30 project will include approximately 4.5 miles of new freeway from 97th Avenue to Loop 202 with 3 general purpose lanes in each direction, a new SR30 Loop 202 South Mountain Freeway system interchange, traffic interchanges at 91st Street, 83rd, and 67th Avenues, which will include bridges to separate SR30 and cross-street traffic, widening of existing bridges at Loop 202 and Baseline Road, Southern Avenue, Broadway and Lower Buckeye Roads, the Roosevelt Irrigation Canal, and Buckeye Road to accommodate the new system ramps between SR30 and Loop 202, drainage improvements and energy-efficient lighting throughout the project area, and noise walls where warranted based on the noise analysis. Aesthetics of the SR30 Loop 202 traffic interchange will match the existing themes on Loop 202. Final aesthetics for the SR30 section between 97th Avenue and Loop 202 are under development at this time. This image shows the system interchange between the existing Loop 202 South Mountain Freeway and the future SR30. The red lines show where bridge structures will need to be built for the ramp connections, and the yellow shows the new SR30 freeway main line as well as the interchange ramps and crossroad improvements at 67th Avenue, Broadway Road, and Southern Avenue. To construct this interchange, a number of existing bridges will need to be expanded and new bridges constructed along Loop 202, including bridges at Broadway Road, Southern Avenue, and Baseline Road. SR30 will be initially constructed as an interim freeway with 3 lanes in each direction. ADOT will acquire the right-of-way for the ultimate freeway configuration so that SR30 can be widened into the median in the future. This image shows the approximation of a typical cross-section of SR30 showing 3 12-foot general-purpose lanes in each direction with inside and outside shoulders as well as the wide center median for future expansion. The SR30 design will accommodate future improvements that include an ultimate roadway configuration with 4 general purpose lanes and 1 high occupancy vehicle lane in each direction, and direct connecting HOV ramps between SR30 and Loop 202. This exhibit shows the ultimate roadway configuration with the 4 general purpose lanes, 1 HOV lane, and 12-foot shoulders on each side. New right-of-way will be required for construction of SR30 between Saraville Avenue and Loop 202. Utility easements may also be required, but are expected to be minimal and will depend on the actual utility relocation designs that are negotiated with utility companies during the final design phase. In addition, temporary construction easements may be required, but are also expected to be minimal and will depend on construction methods and maintenance of traffic requirements. This project, which includes only the planned section of SR30 between 97th Avenue and Loop 202, does require the acquisition of business and residential properties, but the acquisition process is underway and it's nearing completion. The project is currently in the design phase, which began in October of 2024. ADOT will host a public meeting in late 2025 or early 2026. Design is anticipated to be completed by fall of 2026, and construction is tentatively expected to begin in spring of 2027 and should be completed sometime in 2029. We also, regarding funding, this project and the other sections of SR30 leading to Loop 303 are funded under Prop 479, the half-cent transportation sales tax. And the Avondale segments that are, well, they haven't been phased yet, and that's still in discussion in the Maricopa Association of Governments. We're anticipating the segments will be Bullard to Dysart, Dysart to Avondale, and then Avondale to 99th Avenue. So that concludes my portion of the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions with any time remaining.
Any questions from any of the council members? Okay, Councilmember White.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's great to hear the first segments kicking off from the City of Phoenix. The order that you just shared, this will happen based on the time frame you've built out. Is it a good approximation that 2032 is when we might see some of that development here in the city, sir?
I can't speak to that. I know that the actual phasing is still under discussion at the Maricopa Association of Governments, but I can definitely look into that and get back to Kimberly with some additional information if that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm not sure how many in the audience have seen the plans, not just the segment from 97 to 202, but just in its entirety of its position and location and how it's going to run through here at Avondale, obviously, which we are all concerned with. And I know that many of the meetings that I've attended, the dates have they've never been solidified, and I know there's a lot of moving parts for that. And I've heard the 2032, 33-ish type of time frame. But again, going back to my original comment on the 101 interchange is, again, safety. And the fact that I-10 has become such a parking lot that this reliever freeway, if you will provide that same opportunity for our residents that I believe that the interchange will bring to the 101, which is improvement, speed, and mobility for our residents to go east and west. And so as much information as you can share, we would love to have access to so that we can continue to push out to our residents as time starts to move forward. And we really appreciate that opportunity. So if there's not any other comments, then we appreciate you and the team being here today.
Thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, up next we have Josh Perez, our Code Compliance Manager, to present a new program we're starting, an All-Star Curb Appeal Award Program.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. I'm here to present our Code Compliance and Office of Public Safety's newest recognition program, the Property All-Star Curb Appeal Program. So why are we going to have a recognition program? One of the goals of code compliance in the Office of Public Safety is the beautification of neighborhoods and our commercial development throughout the city of Avondale. This new program will provide us an opportunity to begin recognizing and rewarding property owners who are taking those extra steps, that are maintaining their properties at higher standards that we hope other property owners would aspire to as well. Our recognition program will have 2 categories. Our first category will be residential. This will include all single-family residential homes throughout the city of Avondale. Our second category will be commercial. And in addition to all commercially zoned properties, properties such as multifamily units, such as, for example, apartment complexes would be included in this, and HOA-owned areas and properties as well. So how would we submit a nomination to be having your property considered or a property considered? We will be using our AbbeyWise app to allow residents to submit a property for consideration. This will provide the resident or citizen an opportunity to take a picture and provide a brief statement on that property that they would like to be nominated. And those will be all the submissions would be forwarded to the Co-Compliance Division, where we would screen all the entries and then create a list to provide to a selection committee. A selection committee will be comprised of members of the city staff and also a member of the neighborhood commission. Once they are given that list, they will have some criteria. Some of those criteria points that they would be using to evaluate the properties are landscape design, use of lighting, hardscape elements, and use of water-conserving plants. The selection committee will provide the recommendations to the co-compliance manager, and those recommendations will be forwarded to city management to make that final selection. Once a property owner has been selected, we would like to invite that property owner to come to a city council meeting to be given a certificate and a sign to place in front of their property to show that they've been awarded. And we would also like to feature them in upcoming rave publications. And we would like to present this award on a quarterly basis. Here is an example of what a yard sign would be, how it would be look in your front yard, designed by our amazing marketing team. We're really happy with their help. But again, this would be provided to the resident. It would be printed on a corrugated plastic material so that they can place it on the outside of the residence. And again, it's just another way for us to just take that time to just appreciate the property owners that are taking that community pride in their homes, and again, hopefully give that recognition and promote that other property owners are willing to do the same. So with that, I would like to say thank you to all the City Council for your continued support and leadership, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any council members have questions or comments? Okay, Councilmember Condi.
Thank you for the presentation. What a great idea. I did have a question. So there's 2 categories. So just a regular home that includes homes in HOAs, and then the commercial. Did we consider doing like a non-HOA home and then having an HOA home, so making 3 categories rather than the 2?
Right now, we just consider all residential homes, so that would be residential homes at every, whether it's in a subdivision with an HOA or if it's, like one of our revitalization community, homes as well. So it's open for anybody to submit a recommendation, and that's where we would take kind of some of those considerations with the selection committee and the criteria that we built. But I mean, those again once we implement this, obviously, our goal is that it grows, and that there's more categories we can create later on.
Great.
Possibility.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia.
This is a very cute idea, especially because I see people in my neighborhood and in other neighborhoods taking care of their homes, like going that extra mile. I have a veteran in my community that goes and takes care of the entire neighborhood because he wants everyone's yards to look clean. And I'm glad that they have to nominate themselves and you're not walking around, because I don't want you to go to my house and be looking at it. With this, it would be really fun to do something like during the holidays included with this, because I know people decorate for like Halloween and Christmas. Do you guys plan to do anything special for those times?
That has been considered with this program. I would probably need to speak with our management to see if that's something we can include maybe in the future. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Solorio.
Thank you for the presentation. This is great. It's often, many people see code enforcement for what it really is, and bringing something like this to the neighborhood only creates more positivity, and it creates the atmosphere where, people want to get involved, and, it might be the one home that maybe sticks out that wants the really cool sign in front of their house, and to share that ability with other neighbors. So thank you for creating the program with the folks that put all the hard work into it. It'll be exciting to see who is your first winner.
Thank you, Councilor. I appreciate it.
Any other members of council? It's already pretty much been said, but again, I think just you summed it up in one word, and that was pride and appreciation. And again, just like our students who do well in school and get the Avi Awards, and not necessarily to get the award, it's just who they are. I think this is a great way to celebrate that achievement for homeowners who are just taking that step of pride, and hopefully will allow and spur that type of opportunity for other residents as they see the award pop up in their neighbors' yards and even in their own. So we really appreciate this, and I look forward to seeing the first winners of these awards.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of council.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next, we have a presentation by Jury, our Family Services Manager with Neighbor and Family Services, to talk about our Opioid Youth Prevention Services Grant Award presentation. As they're getting ready to make this presentation, I think this might be a good time to point out, because he won't. The previous program and this program are both under the leadership of Deputy City Manager Nanigay. And I just really appreciate the creativity with a little bit of direction and idea how he's able to get his teams. And I know this program that you're getting ready to hear about, Chris's team and Edith and everybody has really been involved, but just really impressed with the work that they're doing to bring great things to our community. So thank you, Deputy Nanigay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Jari Guajardo. I'm the Family Services Manager with the Neighborhood and Family Services Department, and I have the pleasure of presenting on the Youth Opioid Prevention Services Grants, which include awarding the nonprofits that are recipients. I want to say a huge thank you to kind of just echo what Ron said to Mayor and Council for supporting this endeavor. The purpose of these grants is to provide nonprofit agencies with the opportunity to be a part of the prevention efforts within the community, and to diversify the program offerings that we would get from, say, just one organization. And being able to provide multiple grants, it allows for that diversification. For FY25 and 26, we have been provided $200,000 for these efforts, and the maximum award for each project is $50,000 for this fiscal year. I would also like to add, there was 3 specific areas that we really wanted to focus efforts on, and that was prevention, education, and mentoring services. So each of the recipients that you will hear about tonight all will be focusing their services around those key areas. A little bit of background. In November of 2021, the City Council granted approval for the City of Avondale to participate in the One Arizona Agreement distribution of youth opioid settlement funds. This agreement was finalized in 2022, which was a part of the 2021 National Opioid Settlement, which resolved all opioid litigation from state and local subdivisions against pharmaceutical distributors to effectively distribute $1.12 million in opioid settlement funds over the next 18 years. The state, counties, cities, and towns reached an agreement to disperse funds based on population and severity of harm. I'd like to talk a little bit about the process that went into making these grants possible for the community. There was a designated team that was made up of multiple different departments. The committee itself is the Opioid Prevention Committee, and members of that committee include individuals from Neighborhood and Family Services, PD, Fire, Marketing and Public Relations, Finance, and Office of Public Safety. And I would like to take a moment to recognize our very own Super Chief, Nanagade, for spearheading these efforts. Thank you so much. At this time, we would like to ask members of the committee to stand and be recognized for all of their hard work in developing the grant and going through the process of reviewing and selecting recipients. Thank you all. And now we're going to award the recipients. As I call your organization's name, please come down to the front and accept your award. We have big checks and little checks, so make sure that you get both checks as you come up. The first organization that we are going to be awarding is Not My Kid. Not My Kid is using the funds to expand comprehensive youth opioid prevention, education, early intervention support, and treatment navigation to Avondale youth.
And Mr. Mayor, as a reminder, we're going to get pictures after this presentation with all the award winners and council.
Thank you, Ron.
Yes, so I will mention to all of the awardees, please stick around for that photo opportunity before you head out for the evening. La Frontera Impact is the next recipient. And Impact will use the funds to continue supporting their Building Resiliency in Youth Opioid Prevention Program to address youth substance use prevention, including the prevention of opioid use and abuse. Jobs for Arizona Graduates is the next recipient, also known as JAG. They will be using their funds to support their Young Leaders for Youth Wellbeing program at 3 of the Avondale High School campuses. JAG student leaders will lead awareness campaigns on opioid substance use prevention and the importance of youth mental health. Youth for Youth. Youth for Youth will use the funds to expand and strengthen their youth resiliency and drug prevention program with a special focus on youth opioid prevention. Sounds of Autism. Sounds of Autism will use the funds to support training sessions focused on opioid awareness and prevention for those on the autism spectrum. That concludes our award presentation. Does any member of the council have any questions?
Any question or comments from any of the council members? Okay, Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And I really commend Chief and your team for attacking this at the youth level and trying to prevent opiate use. I work in the hospital. I see opiate dependency. It works differently than other drugs. You become physically dependent on it. And a lot of the drug cartels lace their other drugs with opiates in order to get people addicted to them and dependent on them. So I commend you for this work. I'm excited to see the outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Weiss.
Any other council members? Okay. Again, I know it takes time to write these grants, and we really appreciate the opportunity for them to come before us, and more importantly, moving forward through the process, which I know is not easy. And so I hope that all of the recipients today, and I know that they will use the funds in the manner in which they were applied for, and it's only going to do, good things for the community. So thank you to all the team, Chris as well, to Super Chief Nanagay. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I believe we're ready for pictures. We could start with the awardees and the big checks. Bring them down here with you as our photographer arranges all of you, and then we'll get a picture with the marketing team as well, if they don't mind.
Alrighty, looking right up here. 3, 2, 1, big smiles. 3, 2, 1, big smiles. Looking right at my camera. One more. Over there. I need the cell phone, please. Awesome, thank you guys.
Look at that group. Look at them smile. Move a smidge.
Okay, item 3 is unscheduled public appearances. Marcella, I have several blue cards here. So as I call your name, if you could come up to the podium and state your address for the record, we would appreciate it. I'm just going to read them in the order in which I have them. And then we also have a couple, I believe, Marcella, that are not here in person or maybe, but that you will read aloud, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So first, we are going to ask Teresa, and if I mispronounce your name, I apologize up front. Teresa DeSanti.
And after Teresa, Mayor, would you like to say who will be speaking so they can make their way to the podium?
Oh, yes. And after that would be Walter Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Yep, feel free to start when you're ready.
Right, Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. I am very embarrassed about one of your council members stating that Tom Hanks, pedophile. He's the most decent person. And what gives her the right to say that? What gives you the right to say that? And I'm talking to you, Garcia. You put a bad taste in Avondale's mouth of saying that. You just barely got hired on. And I've lived here all my life, and never have I ever came across any of you guys talking bad about the city. Newcomer, it was she's doing, Mayor. And because what? You're sucking up to Trump. I know you did this for the Trumpsters, because everybody knows that you're so proud of wearing that hat, which is okay. But I think that you should do it in a proper way. And I also want to ask you, Mr. Mayor, if Tom Hanks sues Garcia, are you going to be liable for her actions? Yes or no?
Sorry, we cannot respond from the dais.
Okay. And if it is, Avondale's taxpayers are going to pay for the lawsuit. I don't think it's right. And so let me ask you a question, Garcia. Where'd your parents come from? Did they come here legally? So it's like I said, you've been elected and you've been taken this position, and I think that you did very wrong for the city of Avondale. And I really think that she should resign, or have her resign, because I think it's a bad choice what she did. I don't know what she was trying to prove or anything. Hey, like you said, freedom of speech. But doing it in a manly way, not call somebody a pedophile. And it doesn't mean pedo, because a lot of people don't understand Spanish. Like me, if somebody from Germany told me something in German that meant fart, am I going to know? No, I'm not going to know. So I'm asking you, why did you do that? You put a bad taste in Avondale. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. And thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, except you, Garcia.
And just as a reminder, and I know that it was mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, you may not have caught it, but during this unscheduled public appearances, council is not able to respond directly to residents. So just be mindful of that. So if you ask us questions directly, we are not able to respond directly to those two questions.
Good evening, Mayor, Indiana Council. My name is Walter Gonzalez, the third generation of Old Town Avondale. I'm here today quite embarrassed and frustrated with the quietness from the council. But let's get to the facts. February 16th at 8:24 p.m., Councilmember Garcia shared on her personal but public X profile, "Hey, pedo Tom Hanks, not all MAGA hat-wearing patriots are white. In fact, most racism comes from the elite Democrats, you asshole." With 13,000 comments, 15,000 reshares, and 95,000 likes. On February 17th at 8:22 a.m., the Tesla owner Elon Musk shared the post, getting national attention with 8.3 thousand comments, 28,000 reshares, and 234,000 likes. February 18th at 2:30 p.m., Councilmember Garcia shared on the same page, "I'm actually surprised more people don't know what the awful truth about the Hollywood elite. People are defending them as if they have a personal relationship with them. It's weird." February 20th, AZ Central published 2 articles titled "Why is Elon Musk Praising an Arizona Council Member for Attacking Tom Hanks?" and another op-ed titled "Tom Hanks Should Sue Elon Musk and an Arizona Official." February 21st at 11:54 a.m., Councilmember Garcia then shared on multiple platforms, including her council Facebook, "I've never used the word pedophile. That accusation originated from others, not me. My original post on X focused solely on racism I have witnessed from liberals directed towards Latinos like myself who support President Trump. In a post, I used a Spanish word, pedo, which translates to fart, among other meanings in the Hispanic community. Let me be clear, I will not apologizing for exposing racism of the left. The majority of those demanding my resignation are not Avondale residents, they're outsides, intent on bullying and showing division, behavior that only violates and point out my original post. This has led to harassment and threats due to misinterpretation word fart, pedo in Spanish. Yesterday, Councilmember Garcia posted on a Facebook page. A follower posted, "Unreal. I feel sorry for haters who are triggered at the slightest truth. Tom Hanks is a pedophile and pimped out his own son." Councilmember then Garcia reacted to it and put the Karen emoji to respond. She also on February 9th said, "Kendrick said game was rigged, Drake was a pedo, turn off the TV," after the Super Bowl show. In the song Not Like Us, Kendrick says, "Boo wop wop wop, I do my stuff, why you trolling like a bitch, ain't you trying to strike a chord, probably a minor, certified lover, certified pedophile." But in conclusion, I guess the residents of Avondale 100% got it wrong and misinterpreted what she said, and as well as Kendrick Lamar. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Next up is Roger Pickerill, and after Roger will be Mary Alvarado.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, very much. Excuse me. Sometimes frogs sneak into my conversations. I'm Roger Pickrell. I'm state committeeman for LD 22, and I'm also the state GOP chaplain. I want to start off by stating something today. An idea of understanding. Wisdom is the godly and practical use of knowledge. Those are words I think we all should integrate into our lives each and every day. I see so much infractions of pettiness a lot of times in our lifestyles, in our families. We can see that. We need to be able to take control, and that is definitely what meekness is in the Word of God. Meekness is power and control. And I think we need to start exercising that ourselves in these premises. All fall short of the glory of God. But one thing to always understand too is that we can all pick up 5 smooth stones. But Jesus said in the garden, "Ye who has no sin, cast the first stone." My prayer to each and every one of you today, and everyone in this council room, is when you go home tonight, think about things that you all fell short from. And we're not perfect, but we're forgiven in the eyes of God. We should not be judgmental, for yes, we will be judged at the end of the day. My encouragement, once again, is love one another as you would want to be loved yourself. For, as in the model prayer, Jesus said, "Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us." We have to take a lot of things seriously now because we got bigger fish to fry in this nation. We have borders to be worked on. We have fentanyl. We just showed great fights for opioids. We got death in the streets. I want to see programs like in Glendale to get 60,000 veterans off the curb. We need to be fighting more serious fights and start considering where we stand on the cornerstone of the author of faith or otherwise. God bless you, God keep you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. Mary? After Mary, we will have Don DeSimone as well.
Alcalde y Consejo, mi nombre es Mari Alvarado. I will address the group in Spanish, and then I will summarize it, translate it to English. Quiero expresar mi sorpresa por el comportamiento reciente del concejal García. Como residente de Avondale, considero que su conducta no solo es incorrecta de una persona electa a un puesto no partidista, pero también es no aceptable. ¡Qué vergüenza que alguien a quien se ha confiado la responsabilidad de servir a nuestra comunidad actúe de una manera sin respeto y sin responsabilidad! Esto es una violación de la confianza que le dio la gente de Avondale. No se puede ignorar la falta de rendición de cuentas y del desprecio por los estándares que se requieren de los servidores públicos. Le pido yo al Consejo que tome medidas inmediatas para aplacar este problema, ya que tal comportamiento no tiene lugar en Avondale. Merecemos mejor. Y es su deber asegurarse de que tienes que representar y portarte bien con las más altas estándares de conducta. Gracias. Mayor and Council, I want to express my shock over the recent behavior of Council Member Garcia. As a resident of Avondale, I find her conduct not only incorrect for a person elected to a nonpartisan position, and I also find it unacceptable. What a shame that Councilmember Garcia, who is given the trust and responsibility to serve our community, acts in a very disrespectful and irresponsible manner. This is the violation of the trust placed in her by the people of Avondale. The council cannot overlook this lack of accountability and disregard for the standards expected of public servants. I am requesting that the council take immediate action to address this issue, as such behavior has no place in our city of Avondale, the behavior that was just presented by two other people. We deserve better, and it is your duty to ensure that those who represent us adhere to the highest standards of conduct. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thank you so much for this opportunity to address you. I rise in support of Councilwoman Garcia and the post calling Tom Hanks a fart. I have known Councilwoman Garcia for about a year. I met her during her campaign, and she has called me an old fart many times in a very friendly and kind-hearted manner. So when I saw the word pedo, Spanish for fart, it was obvious to me what she meant. And let's face it, at this point in his life, Tom Hanks is definitely an old fart. And I totally agree that based on his recent Saturday Night Live skit, he is indeed a racist old fart. To those who jump to the conclusion that Councilwoman Garcia was calling Tom Hanks a pedophile, to paraphrase Shakespeare in Hamlet, methinks thou dost protest too much. This said, Ms. Garcia's two actual points in her post remain true and unchallenged. Nobody has challenged her main points. Her first point was that not everyone in the MAGA movement is white, and this is very true. In fact, President Trump got a large percentage of the minority vote, helping him get 54% of the popular vote in what proved to be the least racially divided election in America in half a century. Her second point was that Tom Hanks and the other progressive elitists who write and produce Saturday Night Live are racist for putting on the racist skit known as Black Jeopardy. In fact, if you check the internet, you will find that most of the backlash against Tom Hanks is coming from people of color, including Councilwoman Garcia. Despite the unifying nature of this last election, elites like Tom Hanks and the writers and producers of Saturday Night Live chose to double down on the racial wedge they have been driving between the American people for years, rather than choosing to nurture America's current trend towards racial unity. Shame on them. We, the American people of all colors, races, creeds, and religions, are coming together as one big American family. And the elites in this country should either get on board the unity train or get out of its way. I thank you for your time.
Jeff Prey. And after Jeff, we got Robert Maxwell.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. I as well am coming here in support of Councilwoman Garcia. I'm not as articulate or as prepared as the gentleman who spoke before me, but I just want to say that I am shocked and disgusted at the open racism that I've seen in this meeting, that I've seen online in comments that have been made. The idea that a woman of any color not be allowed to speak her mind, or that she not have the ability to be conservative in her values without being attacked. That's just, it goes beyond my comprehension. That's it. Thank you.
Robert Maxwell, and then after Robert, Natasha Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, esteemed members of the council. I would like to start my remarks by, condemning the racist attack on Ms. Garcia by a member of the audience. I'm sorry that you had to be subjected to that, no less by someone claiming to carry a banter of anti-racism. It's really ridiculous what I'm witnessing here tonight. I actually was going to speak about something else, but I guess I should speak about this matter since we're talking about this as opposed to some of the more productive things we could be discussing to embetter the city. I was excited when Ms. Garcia was initially elected to the city council because she has such a large following. She has more of a following than the city of Avondale's Twitter account, plus the police account, plus the fire account, plus the school district account. And I was hoping that she could use her platform to talk about issues that are important for the community. And so far, she's done that. In fact, she's knocked it out of the park. She's getting dialogue from the richest man in the world who's engaging with her. I've seen her get invited to the inauguration of the president, and regardless of one's personal opinions on that, I think that puts us on the map. So I would like, instead of individuals shaming Ms. Garcia for her personal beliefs. I would like to see members of the city council, people involved in some of the great projects we've seen and some of these initiatives. I'd like to see them lean on Ms. Garcia to get some of the word out, to embetter the community. And I would also just encourage people to just be careful about using broad stroke ideologies to cover up their own personal partisan animus. And I think that we should leave that animus outside of spaces like this if we're really going to move forward and unify, not only as a city, not only as a county, not only as a state, but as a country, which I think we all agree we need to do. So I just want to say thank you, Ms. Garcia, for speaking up. Continue using your voice, continue using your platform, and I encourage everyone to look inward before looking outward. Thank you.
Natasha Edmonds. After Natasha is Marissa Patino.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, and City Manager's Office. For the record, my name is Natasha Edmonds, Chair of the West Valley NAACP Economic Development Committee. We do have members in the audience, as well as one of the ambassadors of Avondale. As a city ambassador, I have been approached by several citizens of Avondale who have expressed concerns regarding social media posts made by a member of this council. While it is understood that city council members have the right to share their personal opinions on their personal social media pages, I want to remind the council of the commitment made when taking the oath for a nonpartisan seat. This oath signifies a pledge to act in the best interests of the city as a whole, beyond personal or political affiliations. I encourage all council members to review the City of Avondale's Code of Conduct, which states, I quote, "The professional and personal conduct of members must be above reproach and avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Members shall refrain from abusive conduct, harassment, personal charges, or verbal attacks upon the character or motives of other members of council, boards, commissions, staff, or the public. Members shall demonstrate civility and respect at all times. This remains true in both public and private encounters, as members should be aware that the public nature of the office they hold means they are always on display. With this in mind, I would like to formally request that the council agendize the following for next city council meeting in order to hold a discussion and vote. The topic should be strengthening the standards for city council members. Consider implementing a policy that ensures city council members during their term refrain from posting statements on social media that contradicts the nonpartisan nature of their seats. For the sake of maintaining Avondale's nonpartisan integrity and ensuring that all council members continue to represent the entire city rather than political affiliations. So thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to the council's leadership in addressing this matter and reinforcing the values that make Avondale a united and inclusive community. Thank you.
Next up, Marissa Patino. Marissa Patino. And after Marissa, we have Ryan Hartwig.
My name is Marissa Patino, and I'm a resident of Avondale. I come before you today to encourage you to enforce Avondale's Code of Conduct, Resolution Number 1006-0121, Statement of Purpose passed and adopted January 19th, 2021, Article 3, as stated, conduct of members. The professional and personal conduct of members must be above reproach and avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Members shall refrain from abuse, conduct, harassment, personal charge, or verbal attacks upon the character or motives of other members of council, boards, commission, the staff, or public. Members shall demonstrate civility and respect at all times. This remains true in both public and private encounters, as members should be aware that the public nature of the office they hold means they are always on display. The comment made by Jeanette Garcia on 2/16/2025 on her personal X page not only violates the code stated above, but also demonstrates that she is not acting in the best interest of the people as stated in Article 1. This post has garnered so much attention that Elon Musk himself has reshared it and has over 3 million views. This has brought unwanted attention to our city in a negative light. She then went on to accuse political activist Jose Hernandez of sharing her information, that is public information provided by the city of Avondale, and threatened him on the same personal platform. Her personal political stance and outlandish claims prove to many that she will not make decisions based on merit, but on her own personal beliefs, as she did on her personal social media platform. I am calling for this council to uphold and enforce the code of conduct and act accordingly as stated in Article 11, subsection A. Each member of council has the responsibility to intervene when other members' actions appear to be in violation of the code of conduct. This can take the form of an informal verbal conversation. These instances shall be documented in a memo to be maintained by the office or the city mayor and city attorney within the mayor's office. Jeanette Garcia's actions and personal beliefs directly interfere with her ability to act in the best interest of Avondale citizens. And it is embarrassing that you are allowing these actions to go unaccounted for. I am asking you now to intervene and complete your duty to hold these actions accountable and make a statement regarding the handling of this inappropriate behavior, or allow her to hand in her resignation on her own recognizance. Thank you.
Ryan Hartwig. After Ryan, we got Tex Poleski.
Hi, my name is Ryan Hartwig, and I've lived in Avondale about a year. It's a great city, great community. We have young children. The parks are great. We love it here. And I'm also a Facebook whistleblower and a free speech advocate. I've done over 200 interviews in the last 5 years, and I helped get a criminal referral to the DOJ against Mark Zuckerberg. So the issue here, I think, is just it's free speech. I mean, let's be honest. Like, we shouldn't punish someone for what they're saying online. Like in 2015, I attended a protest outside of a mosque in Phoenix and had a sign up. It was a drawing of Muhammad, and like there was I don't know why it's controversial, but it was. So I was on the cover of LA Times, and a couple years prior to that, like in 2012, I had some friends. I didn't have a place to live for a couple weeks, so I had some friends from the mosque in Tempe who helped me out. I've been to the mosque in Tempe, so I think it's important to have a very tolerant city and accepting of all faiths and religions, whether it's Muslim, Hispanic, Latino, white, every color imaginable. So for me, this issue is more about free speech. We shouldn't punish someone for what they say. And when I worked at Facebook, I worked at Facebook as a content moderator. So I've seen a lot of crazy comments online, and the worst things imaginable on the internet. And so, and interestingly enough, when the phrase when you would call someone a pedophile online, like if someone was calling someone else a pedophile, we would leave it up. It was one of the few things we would leave up. Even if the person was reporting it, like the same person was reporting, we would leave it up. So, I mean, we know the internet's not a fun place to be. And I want to also, so anyways, that's my main point is regarding free speech. And then also just want to extend the invitation to the city here. If you need any help or training on the dangers of online cyberbullying, for 2 years, I reviewed over 90,000 pieces of content, many of which involved minors being attacked, sexual exploitation of minors. So if you need any assistance in crafting any kind of training material to protect the youth in Avondale, I think that's very important with the dangers of Instagram and any kind of social media where kids get involved in sexting and whatnot. So I have some experience in that. So that's my. I want to leave that so that we have some productive aspect of this meeting. But once again, thank you for the great city. Like I said, I've loved it here last year, and I hope you guys can promote free speech in the city of Avondale and not end up like Germany, modern day Germany, where people get arrested for hate speech. Thank you.
Tex Poleski.
Good evening, folks. My name is Tex Poleski. I'm a born and raised Arizonan and a proud Jew who's lived in this great state all my life. I am here to speak in defense of one of Arizona's finest, Councilwoman Jeanette Garcia. Councilwoman Garcia has long been an avid and engaged member of her community and a true patriot, dedicated to both her home state and her country. She valiantly served our nation in the United States Army, where she served with distinction. And since the end of her service, she has been devoted to the greater good of Arizona and her fellow citizens. Therefore, I find the salacious, vile, and outright racist attacks against her to be thoroughly beyond the pale, some of which we've heard here tonight from members of the audience. Jeanette Garcia's service, both military and public, entitle her to the greatest respect deserving of our veterans. And her integrity and honor are second to none. So too is her well-deserved reputation for directly speaking the truth and nothing but the truth. And yet, this council has done nothing to defend her from her attackers, who have said such vile things as that a proud American citizen and veteran should go back to Mexico or be deported, or as one esteemed member of this audience directly implied, that Councilwoman Garcia is herself an illegal immigrant or the child of illegal immigrants. In so doing, this esteemed member of the audience unwittingly proved Councilwoman Garcia's point that the nature of leftist racism is that they are incapable of accepting or tolerating the fact that a minority, whether a proud Latina or a proud Jew, could possibly disagree with them. This should not be a partisan issue, and I find the distinct lack of moral and testicular fortitude of this council in failing to defend one of their own sitting members to be incredibly disturbing. This council should stand as one to defend one of its own from lies and slander. And so I call upon this council to do just that and publicly issue a statement of support for Councilwoman Garcia against her attackers. And if that is too much to ask of this council, then this council does a great disservice to the integrity of the offices they now reside in. Thank you.
Thank you, Text. Will we be reading the other comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have 3 additional requests to speak that I will be reading.
Okay.
The first one is from Jessica Pena, and I quote, "Mayor and Council, my name is Jessica Pena, and I want to express my dismay regarding the recent conduct of Councilmember Garcia. Her actions do not reflect the values of integrity and accountability that we expect from elected leaders. I was made aware of her disturbing behavior after an article I read. I decided to look on her social media pages, and she is filled with hostility, where she belittles, threatens, and uses offensive language towards those who disagree with her, many of whom may be her own constituents. This type of behavior is unacceptable and does not align with the leadership Avondale deserves. As a community, we need leaders who set a positive example and are nonpartisan, which is the best interest of the residents. I urge the council to address this behavior. Thank you, Jessica Pena," end quote. The next one, Mayor, is from Andrea Ojeda, and I quote, "Mayor and Council, I am writing to express my concern regarding a recent article I read about one of our elected officials, Councilmember Garcia, who has used social media platform to spread dubious rhetoric, and hateful messages. As a resident of Avondale, I believe our elected officials represent all residents of the city. Without fueling division or intolerance, the office of council member is nonpartisan, and it is essential that those in these positions work to unify our community rather than sow discord. When public officials use their platform to promote hate or create division, it undermines the trust and cooperation needed to serve the best interests of all residents. This kind of behavior not only detracts from the progress our city should be making, but it also creates a toxic environment for residents who expect their leaders to foster a spirit of respect, inclusivity, and collaboration. Avondale is a diverse community, and our leaders must reflect the values of unity and understanding. I urge the mayor and council to take appropriate actions to address this matter and ensure that each of our elected officials are held to the highest standards of professionalism and respect. The actions of one individual should not reflect on the integrity of our city government. I trust that the City Council will consider the concerns of residents like myself and take steps to address this issue in a way that restores confidence of our elected leaders. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. I look forward to hearing about the actions you plan to take. Andrea Ojeda, end quote. And the third one is from Alejandra Lopez, and I quote, "As a constituent of Avondale for the last 19 years, I take pride in our community. Tonight, I am disappointed and ashamed in Councilmember Garcia. As an elected official, there is great responsibility to uphold truth and integrity. Calling anyone a pedo with no facts is reckless and harmful. As an elected official, her words carry weight. She hid behind the use of colloquial Spanish to justify. And educated Latinas, we both know these words are used informally, and nowhere in her statements was she writing a Spanglish format. Leadership means taking accountability and not making excuses. Our community deserves a representative who engage in fact-based discourse rather than unfounded attacks," end quote. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes all of our requests to speak for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Marcella. I know that we are not able to directly respond back to anything that was asked or questions. I do know that we do have the opportunity to respond to criticisms, but at this time, did you have anything you would like to say, or do you want to move forward? Okay.
Well, first, I want to say I'm a Christian first, kingdom first, and the Lord first. I give all the glory to God, and throughout all of these attacks, I know that there's fear, and the Lord tells us not to fear, not to be intimidated, but to give it to Him because He is the greatest of all. I was elected by people in Avondale, and though the people in this audience that spoke against me, you might not agree with me, but your neighbor might. You misunderstood my statement, but the biggest part of my statement was about racism that I do experience all the time, specifically by other Latinos, because I am a Latina conservative. Our community should not be afraid to be conservative or to be outspoken about their beliefs, their religion, walking down the street because of somebody yelling at them because they don't believe the same thing. It is unfair to anyone else in the community that has the same beliefs as me to feel that way. I apologize to all of the city staff who has been harassed this entire week by things that are not city business, that we took over an hour to speak about stuff that are not city business. This was my personal life, and to the people on the council who have received emails about this, that is the only people I owe an apology to. I do not owe an apology to anybody else because I stand on my words. I will not apologize for having free speech in the United States of America as an American citizen. That is something we should all have. And I want to say thank you for those who have supported me and that showed up in support. And for those who feel like you've been attacked, you have not. This was not towards you. You are not related to the person in the post. You are not personal friends with them. You would not be here if Elon Musk did not retweet me and 38 million people saw that tweet. You would not be here if I wasn't a Latina conservative. You are only here because you are upset that you found out that I am a MAGA conservative. But I actually presented myself that way the entire time. I've never hid who I was because I knew this would come up eventually. I have always been honest and transparent in my views to everyone that I have spoken to. So for that, I just want to say thank you for everyone who came to support me, and I will continue to represent the people of Avondale on this dais by the people who elected me to be here.
Ron, is there any follow-up to this? We move forward.
Mayor, in accordance with the agenda item, it says we have the opportunity as council to ask that the matter be put on a future agenda. I request that we have an executive session to determine if there's a code of conduct situation that this council needs to address. Of the 14 commentaries I heard, there were 4 in support, 2 that were neutral, and I heard a total of 8 that were in disagreement with that and called out the code of conduct. So just to honor the commentaries that we received, I do request an executive session to determine and take a review of our code of conduct, sir.
Ron?
Mr. Mayor, I'll work with the city attorney and the mayor's office to decide how to move forward with that request.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, with that being said, we will then move on to to the consent agenda. Are there any members of council that wish to pull any items from the agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, sorry. Councilmember White made the motion, second by Councilmember Weiss. If we can now vote. Okay. Item passes. Ron, next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Next, we have a public hearing for annexation, Hopewell Avondale application presented by Sylvia, our planner with Development Services.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I want to thank you in advance for joining us tonight. It's an honor to be here presenting this item to you, so thank you for your time. Tonight I will be presenting item 5A, the Hopewell Avondale annexation, application PL-24-0242. Okay, so the purpose of this item tonight is to conduct a public hearing on the proposed annexation. This strip of land is located east of the northeast corner of El Mirage and Indian School Roads, and it is on the southeasternmost part of the Hopewell Avondale parcel itself. The area to be annexed was formerly Maricopa County right-of-way, and it is now part of the Hopewell parcel. But technically it is still within county jurisdiction, so we want to incorporate it into Avondale jurisdiction, and this was an annexation proposed by the Hopewell Avondale owner, the property owner. This item is for discussion and public hearing only, and no action will be taken this evening. The adoption for the annexation ordinance is to be considered on the upcoming March 24th City Council meeting. So here on the screen we have both maps, the aerial map and the jurisdiction exhibit. The site is outlined in red, and it is located, as mentioned previously, east of the northeast corner of El Mirage and Indian School Roads, and it is on the southeasternmost part of the Hopewell parcel, which is in the dotted blue on the jurisdiction exhibit. For context, the jurisdiction exhibit shows the 5-foot wide strip considered for annexation. And yet the strip, as you can see, is located in county jurisdiction, which is shown in gray. I will give you a moment to view the jurisdiction exhibit. So the city of Avondale is in blue. The city of Phoenix is in the red color. Maricopa County is in gray. The Hopewell parcel is dotted in blue, and the annexation area is outlined in red. Continuing with a little bit of background on the request, there's one property owner, which is Hopewell Avondale, and they're the ones who initiated the annexation request. The 5-foot wide strip being considered for annexation is 5 feet wide by 500 feet long, and it totals approximately 2,501 square feet in size, and it is part of the Hopewell Avondale parcel. The Hopewell site is currently vacant, and there aren't any buildings or residents in the area. It is zoned A1, and it did undergo a site plan and design review process with the city, and it was approved in June 29th, 2023. The approved site plan was approved for one warehouse building with industrial uses. Annexing the 5-foot strip would bring this strip into the city jurisdiction, and it would make the site developable in its totality. Finally, the proposal meets state requirements. Staff conducted research on this annexation, and we did file the blank petition and affidavit, and all required notifications have been completed. As mentioned previously, this is the first of 2 public hearings. The hearing will need to be opened, followed by council discussion, and then the hearing will need to be closed. As a reminder, no action is required tonight, and the second public hearing will be held on March 24th at our city council meeting. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your time tonight with us. That concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Marcella, have we received any requests to speak on this issue?
Thank you, Mayor. We have not received any requests to speak.
Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for comments from the council. Are there any comments in relation to this item? Okay, seeing none, then I appreciate the presentation, and we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you so much, council. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Up next, we have our annual comprehensive financial report. I think Renee is going to make the introductions, and we'll hear from our auditor.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. We're here tonight to present the fiscal year 2024 annual comprehensive financial report, as well as the results of the audit. And here with me tonight is Brittany Williams, engagement partner from Heinfeld & Meach, which is our external auditor. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Brittany.
Thanks, Renee. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, thank you so much for having me here tonight. Good news. I have nothing but good news for you tonight. Everything looks really, really good. So this should be a good one. Just to start you out, again, my name is Brittany Williams. I'm the engagement partner for the City of Avondale external financial audit, as well as several other audit reports that come out. We've met with audit committee members, Councilmember White, Councilmember Nielsen, or Vice Mayor Nielsen, and all of those individuals quarterly throughout the year to give them update status on the audit. So they're very familiar with this. And, our firm is a local firm. We specialize only in government audits. We feel they deserve our focus. And so that is where all of our personnel and staff are trained just to do government not-for-profit audits. The first order of business is the independent auditor's report. So this is our report on the financial statements of the City of Avondale. It's just the first page of it, and the very first paragraph you can see is our opinion. So we issued what is called an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, and that is a clean opinion. That is what you want. These are some of the other audit reports that we issued this year. In addition to the auditor opinion with the annual comprehensive financial report, we issue a communication to those charged with governance. I send a letter directly to the audit committee members at the end of every audit to open up the lines of communication and let them know if there were any issues that we encountered during the audit. There were none. We also issued the Highway User Revenue Fund Accountants Report, and that was a clean report as well. We have issued the Single Audit Report, which is the federal compliance piece of the audit, and the Annual Expenditure Limitation Report and the LMR CFD Report. We are still working on the Impact Fees Report, which is done every other year. Let's see. The single audit report contains several different schedules and reports, reporting on government auditing standards, reporting on our test work over the federal awards, and it has the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, which is every single federal dollar that the city spent during the year and which federal agency had passed that money through. We test federal programs and we report back to basically the White House to tell them and all of those departments whether or not the monies were spent in accordance with standards. This is the one page in the single audit report that'll give you the synopsis of everything that we came across. The top section there is the financial statements. We issued an unmodified opinion. There were no findings. Under federal awards, we also issue an unmodified opinion on compliance for our major federal programs that we tested, and there were no findings. The two federal programs that we tested this year were the CDBG entitlement grants and the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. And there were no prior findings to report on. So this is a very clean report. This is as good as it gets. Like I said, nothing but good news here. Everything looked really well, really, really good. These are some resources for elected officials if you want to learn more about reading financial statements. And this is our firm, if you would like to know more about us. And with that, I will open it up for any questions you might have for me tonight.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Are there any members of council that have any questions on this report? Okay, Councilmember White.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you so much, Brittany. It's good to see you. I just wanted to share the audit committee received this information. Vice Mayor, Councilmember Solorio, and myself, as well as the remainder of the audit committee. We miss Jared. He's not here. That's the only finding I have this evening. It's really good to see a clean report for the city of Avondale. I want to commend all of our staff, Barbara, Renee, all the hard work you all do in accounting and finance to make sure things are clean and clear. I think that we've been going for a very long time wanting to make sure people understand that we're having sound operations here, and when you go back and double check and look again, that all those things are falling in line. So we're always nervous when those audit reports come out, but to hear that it's a clean report, I think people are like underwhelmed. This is like the most exciting thing happening at our meeting tonight. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you so much to the audit committee again and the entire staff here in the city that's done everything to make this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember White.
Any other members of council? Okay, Vice Mayor Nielsen.
Brittany, I just echo what Max has said. Thank you very much for your work, your group that's done that, for the opportunity. We have to work with you and listen to these things and how good Avondale really is doing. We've got a wonderful staff in there. They pay attention to those things. And you're there to catch them, and you haven't been able to catch them yet. So we're grateful that it continues that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to extend my gratitude to Barbara and Renee and Maggie in finance. The team does a great job. They're really, we work with them all throughout the year on all these different reports, and they're very responsive and very welcoming. So thank you.
And thank you again and again to the team, Renee, Barbara, and the team. Great job. And this just goes to show the residents, and I know that maybe the residents wouldn't read through this report and find it, a report that has a bunch of bells and whistles, and yet it just demonstrates how responsible we are with the residents' money. And so for that, I'm very, very excited. So thank you for being here and appreciate it.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks.
Ron, next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Up next, we have a utility rate discussion presented by Rob, our budget manager, and then Kirk Abady, our director of public works.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. My name is Robert Baer. I'm the city's budget manager, and joining me up here is Kirk Beatty, Public Works Director, and we'll be going through utility rates discussion tonight. So the agenda for tonight is we are going to first review our water, sewer, and solid waste utilities and some of the expenditure pressures that they are facing currently. And then we'll go into recommended rates for water, sewer, and solid waste utilities, and then we'll open it up for council discussion. So there's no council action tonight, but it is a discussion, and we're looking for feedback. So with that, I will hand it off to Kirk.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to provide some overview on the city utilities. We're going to start out with a water utility overview. You'll see on your screen here just some high-level developments over the last couple of years. We're now serving about 28,000 customers, which has been an increase of about 5% over the last 2 fiscal years. We have 380 miles of water mains. That's a 17% increase over the last 2 years. And along with those water mains are the fire hydrants and the water valves that also go along with that. Operational budget has increased 17%, up to $7.8 million currently. 120% increase in capital projects over the 5 years. A lot of that is due to new projects and inflation, and we've talked to you about that before in previous meetings. And our total production of water usage in FY24 was 4.6 billion gallons. That's up 2% from the previous year. You might wonder, well, how did the customer growth increase by 5%, but the production of water only by 2%? It's really a function of the makeup, the base of the water production. So the original amount, say 4.5 billion gallons, incorporates a lot of large users. One of the biggest being the city itself is a large consumer of water, but also large HOAs and schools. When you talk about the new customers, we're talking about a lot of residential development, which generally will have a lower water use per household than some of those large users. So that's why you see kind of a little bit of a difference there. Diving a little deeper into expenditures, we have a 16% increase in water commodity. What that is the cost to bring the water to the city from our providers, Salt River Project and Central Arizona Project. We don't necessarily pay for the water, but we do pay for the infrastructure and the operations to get that water to the city. Electricity has gone up 14%. That's the electricity that runs the wells and the pumps in our system. Again, capital costs of new projects and inflation. Chemicals up 20%, so that's our chlorine and also our filter and treatment media that we use, and then personnel services. We've added a couple of staff for the last couple of years, and of course the costs for wages and fringe benefits and things like that continue to increase. I want to talk about a few projects specifically. The first one is the Boulevard Well transmission main. The Boulevard Well is on the southwest corner of I-10 and Avondale Boulevard. And over the summer, we put in a water line, a transmission main, right before we did the road resurfacing. You might recall that disruption during the summer. That project was completed and actually cost about 26% more than what it was originally budgeted for in fiscal year 23. Well number 26 is a replacement well on the would be the corner of I-10, south of I-10 and on the east side of the Agua Fria River. That project is expected to start construction in 2025, and it was about a 20% higher cost than what was originally budgeted in fiscal year 23. And the last one is our Encanto shared well. That's a well that we share with Salt River Project as well. We're expecting to see construction at some point. It really depends on when SRP actually does their part to construct that well, but our part is under design. The reason I highlighted these three projects is because it really addresses the need for water production. We are increasing the production of water in the city, and we have not increased our production capacity, the wells, adding wells for over 12 years. So it's important that we continue to add wells so that we can keep up with demand. A couple of large projects we've talked about actually several times we've met in front of council. The first one being our participation in Bartlett Dam, or is what's called the Verde River Sediment Mitigation Project, VRSMP. This is a project that involves 22 partners in the valley. All of the partners have various allocations of water coming out of this project and different cost shares related to this cost of construction for this project. This is a new water source for the city, approximately 4,700 acre feet annually. That really is going to replace a portion of our CAP water, our CAP water, our Colorado River water, as we see cuts to that water volume after 2026. We're anticipating some significant cuts there. The value of this water is it can be used on project, and we've talked about Salt River Project service area and that being the on project area, but it also can be used off project, so areas out of the Salt River Project service area. It could also be stored for long-term storage credits, so there's a lot of value to that. And really, the purchase of this participation in this project is it improves our water resiliency in the face of the current drought that we think is going to continue. The project, we've gotten some word recently that the cost for the project is increasing substantially to the tune of about $3.7 billion, which is up quite a bit from the previous estimate about a year ago. We have a meeting this Thursday, all of the partners of the project, along with SRP, to discuss what the next steps are going to be with regard to this project. It's still a very cost-effective water resource for the city long-term, and we have to think about this in long-term, long duration, not just today, but we're talking 50, 100 years in association with our assured water supply. We still need to invest in these types of resources to make sure that we maintain our water security. But as we meet with the partners, we'll be talking about the timing for this project. Some of the partners may decide to change their participation level and their allocation, and then also strategies for funding the project. The intent was to have this project 50% funded by the federal government, and then the 22 partners would be participating in their half primarily with cash. But we may be working with the federal government to figure out other ways to fund this and even prolong the term of payment. So more to come on that for sure. Another high-level project that we've talked about a few times is PFAS contamination. So per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Back in April of 2024, the National Primary Drinking Water Regulation was finalized that set a limit for these chemicals at 4 parts per trillion of PFAS, which is your perfluorooctane sulfonic acid, and your PFOA, your perfluorooctanoic acid, limits on those in drinking water, as well as 4 other PFAS compounds. With this regulation, we're required to meet that limitation of 4 parts per trillion before April of 2029. And we have developed with our team internally and with consultants an action plan and a strategy to meet those obligations. The estimated cost for that project is $120 million, with an annual operating expense of about $4 million going forward. In the FY26 budget proposal, we have $18 million proposed for design and land acquisition. Our plan at this point is to proceed to meet the current regulations and the deadlines that are set before us, but there are some possibilities that regulation or deadlines could change. These types of regulations have a tendency to get expanded in time to a longer time frame just to allow providers to meet those obligations and generate the capital they need to do these types of projects. So we are setting ourselves up to adjust, stay on course to design and get ready, be ready to implement if the deadline stays, be flexible and implement over a period of time if the deadline is extended. That's all on the water utility, so we'll talk now a little bit about the sewer. So about 26,000 customers, a 4% increase over the last 2 years. And remember that our water customers are actual water meters. Some of those meters don't serve households. They serve landscape and things like that aren't necessarily contributing to the sewer. And that's why the customer count is less. 264 miles of sewer mains. There's also lift stations involved with that, lots of manholes. An operations budget of $9 million. That's up 7%. 5-year capital, $190 million, up 49%. A huge part of that is inflation. And last year, fiscal 2024, we treated 2.75 billion gallons of wastewater. Some of the expenditure pressures, diving a little deeper, landfill costs. So we have to take our biosolids, which is a dry byproduct of the treatment process, to the landfill. Electricity increase of 18%, so that's the pumping stations, the lift stations in the system, as well as the electrical equipment at the plant itself. Capital costs, chemicals are up 36%, and then our sewer supplies, pipes, pumps, parts, all those types of things, certainly suffering from inflationary increases. I'm going to talk about 3 particular projects for sewer. So the first one is Dysart Road Replacement Phase 2. This is a section of sewer from Corral to Lower Buckeye. You might remember Phase 1, which was about a year and a half ago, which was Riley to Corral right down the middle of Dysart Road and underneath the railroad tracks. It was quite a long project. This is the second phase of that. The next one we'll talk about in a moment is the expansion to the water reclamation facility. I'll give you some more detail on that. But finally, the last one is the odor control system improvements at the water reclamation facility. That project was completed just within the last month. And in that particular case, between FY23 and 25, the budget for that nearly doubled from $4 million to $8 million, really driven by inflationary increases. So a little bit about the water reclamation facility expansion. The diagram shows, and you can look at the legend, existing features, proposed features for this current expansion, and then future expansion features. This plant is expandable to 15 million gallons a day. Right now, it's currently got a capacity for 9 million gallons a day. The proposed project that we're working on right now will take that capacity to 12 million gallons a day. We've asked for an additional $22 million in the FY26 budget, and you can see overall the cash flow per fiscal year for this project with a total project cost of nearly $156 million. The expansion of 3 million gallons per day is equivalent to about 3,360 acre feet of water. And the reason I bring that up is it's actually about 10% of our assured water supply in our portfolio. So the beauty of this water is once it's treated, whether it's come from the Salt River Project or the Central Arizona Project, once we treat it, we can then use that water anywhere in the city. And as we see growth happening in these off-project areas, it's very valuable to have that water available to meet those off-project demands. So I kind of think of it as almost like a water conversion plant because it takes SRP water and turns it into something else we can use somewhere else beyond cleaning it up. The last utility we're going to talk about is solid waste. We have 25,800 customers. That's an increase of 8%. Trash tonnage has actually gone down a little bit over the last couple of years. Recycling has increased pretty substantially, and the bulk waste has gone down. And if you want to think about why that might be, we've done a lot of effort in improving recycling through the city, especially in some of the areas where recycling was not done so well. Where we were taking a lot of contaminated recyclables to the landfill. We've been able to, through education and a lot of outreach, we've been able to change that trend where everything that's put out for recycling actually goes to the recycle center now with very little contamination. Again, there's some pressures there. The big one is being the cost of recycling. That market continues to change and is very volatile. Right now, recycling costs less than landfilling, but that hasn't been the case in the past, and we do see a possible change coming this next quarter where that'll change slightly. It'll cost a little more to recycle. So we continue to monitor that behavior, that market, and make sure that everybody's aware, budget for it, plan for it, make adjustments if we need to. Vehicle expenses have gone up tremendously. We're up to about $500,000 to purchase a new trash truck, where a few years ago that was only $350,000. And I say only, that's still quite a bit of money. Personnel expenses have increased, 20% increases in the landfill. So we take all of our solid waste to the Glendale landfill, and they increase pretty much annually. We have a little small increase in our contract with them. So good news is the cost for fuel maintenance repairs have actually gone down from what our estimated budget was, primarily because we estimated higher on our fuel costs than what we actually have seen over the last 2 years. not counting what you're paying at the pump today. But over the past couple of years, we enjoyed a lower cost for fuel. Some operational changes that we made, and you're all familiar with these, I know. Our overall objective in any of the changes were to maintain current service levels. We changed the bulk trash zones a couple of years ago. And then, of course, this month we've changed the curbside recycling and trash service to a new schedule. And again, you're all aware of those. The whole idea of that was to level the workload across the entire operation, so we didn't have some days that are heavy and some days that are light. Really, it's a matter of optimizing operations, because, and you've heard me say this before, we're never going to come back and ask for more resources until we know that we're making the most efficient use we can of the resources that we already have. A lot of that change was as a result of an operations study that we completed a couple of years ago. We've also leveraged technology. So we've implemented a routing software. We've put tablet computers in all of the waste trucks that helps them follow routes, that helps them to record things that they see out in the field, maybe a can that can't be collected because it's too close to a parked vehicle. We've implemented video cameras on all of the trucks. All of those technology implementations have really helped us to reduce the number of callbacks for alleged missed collection service. So we would get calls, somebody said, we missed your can, you missed my pile of bulk trash. We can now review those items on the video or in the pictures and determine exactly what happened and get back with the customer. In a lot of cases, we can offer them for a fee to go back and pick up their trash. And I think Rob actually touches on that in part of his presentation. But it has cut back on the number of out-of-service call or out-of-route calls that we get. And when we were doing those before, that's just extra fuel, extra vehicle costs, extra labor that all of the utility rate payers were absorbing. So that's it for an overview on utilities. I think I'll turn it back over to Rob for the rate portion of the discussion.
Mr. Mayor, given that it's really two different things we'll be talking about, now might be a good time so that if council has any questions on the operations and the cost increase before we get into rates, might be a good time to ask Kirk those backup questions.
Thank you, Ron. Are there any members of the council that have any questions or anything to add? Go ahead. Councilmember White.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Kurt, thank you for the presentation. I just concerned with the really high cost for recycling. I know you said it's still lower than what our regular landfill expenses are. What's the time horizon you think where it might become unaffordable or a cost that we'll have to pass on to our residents?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all of that.
What's the time horizon that you think we might have to review and look at? Is recycling worth it anymore in Avondale?
So we are, as part of the utility rate study, there'll be an increase regarding solid waste. It implements in July 1st. So that will, that takes into account our projection of recycling. It's hard to say. Again, the market has gone up and down so much. And other cities have done it. They've stopped recycling for a period of time. I think it's something that we will really have to think seriously about when we get to the point that it does cost too much, because it's hard to turn it off and then turn it back on again, because it's a behavior that took a long time to get started in the first place. But I wish I could tell you, that it's going to be a certain rate forever. We just don't know right now.
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember White, I'll come back to council if it costs too much. Remember, we're still required to pick up twice a week at every residence. We do that by picking up recycling and the regular trash. So while it would reduce maybe our dumping fees by a little bit, it would still have to be dumped. So you're only really saving the differential. So we're just watching it closely to make sure it stays within the budget. I think you'll see the percent increase is very small in solid waste, but we've made a commitment to come back to council with that very hard discussion that you'll have to have about policy on recycling when we can no longer fit it within the budget that's approved by council. This is the first time in the 2.5 years I've been here where it's cost less. About 1.5 years ago, we were getting ready to have that discussion because it was so expensive. But every quarter, I believe the price is reevaluated.
Yes.
And so we look at it on a quarterly basis.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other members of council? As we transition into the discussion regarding the utility rates, I just want to communicate how important it is for our residents to know that from an operations perspective that you guys have really maintained the efficiency and have made such improvements, whether it's changing the routes, whether it's utilizing technology and things of that nature, that often the conversation goes to a situation where you're discussing, well, as an organization, before you increase or whatever you might do with rates, you discuss how do you become even more efficient. And I'm here to say, on record that your department has done just that from that operations perspective of looking to figure out how do we maximize efficiencies, our savings, and taking all those things into account to be as efficient as possible from an operations perspective. So I don't want that to get lost in the conversation as we shift over to talking about rates as well. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
All right, so the way we pay for all that water, sewer, solid waste service that our residents and our businesses depend on is through charging utility rates. So for our utility customers, we charge utility rates in response to the service they receive. So it's not like police or fire or parks where you pay sales tax and that goes into the general fund. What our residents pay goes directly to fund water, sewer, and solid waste, and that's what we're talking about tonight. Our utility rates must cover all the operational, the maintenance, and the future infrastructure improvements associated with each of these utilities. Additionally, we have self-supporting utilities, which means that what we charge our residents goes directly to support those utilities. We do not use sales tax dollars or other funding sources to subsidize our utilities. And additionally, we do not use what we charge our residents to subsidize other city services. We also make sure that we're forecasting what we need in terms of utility rates over the long term, because we don't want to just make sure that we have well-funded utilities next year, but we want to make sure that we're being fiscally sustainable and being responsible to our utility customers with utility rates that we're proposing. So the first slide I'm going to show when it comes to utility rates is where we currently stand compared to the 13 largest municipalities in the Phoenix metropolitan area. So you can see that we're on the lower end, so we're the 5th lowest of our 13 comparison cities with a combined water, sewer, and solid waste bill of $106. So you can see the range right now goes from $160 per month for Goodyear all the way down to $74 a month for the city of Chandler. So going a little bit more into detail about water rates. So I'm going to first describe the structure of our current water rates. So right now we have a base charge, which is determined based off of the meter that connects to the residence or the business. So right now for a 3/4 inch meter, which is the typical meter connected to a residential home, that charge is $10.54. And then we have tiers related to how much water you consume on a monthly basis. For residential and landscape customers, we have 3 tiers. So for that first tier, which is for the first 6,000 gallons of water used for a residential customer, that charge is $2.03 per 1,000 gallons. Then once we get to more of the discretionary water use, one note about water usage is 70% of water usage occurs outside a residential home. We start to increase that rate because the more water you consume, that means the more wells we have to add, the larger pipes we need in the system, the more water we need to purchase. So for the next tier, which is for that 6,000 to 15,000 gallons, that charge is $3.56. And then for truly high water usage customers, we have a third tier, which is $5.09 for anything above 15,000 gallons consumed. For commercial and multifamily, we have a flat rate per 1,000 gallons of $3.09, and that is because if you think of like a commercial business, there's less discretionary water usage. So if you're running like a small restaurant, the amount of water usage you have is probably going to be steady month to month. It should be noted that a lot of commercial and our multifamily will typically also have a landscape meter for that outside landscaping that is more discretionary in nature. So going into a typical water bill for a Avondale resident. So we benchmark our Avondale residents at 9,000 gallons a month. So you can see that they have that base fee of $10.54, which is connected to their meter size. And then we have 2 tiers. So that first 6,000, they're charged $2.03 per 1,000 gallons. And then they have that second tier for that next 6,000 to $9,000 or 9,000 gallons of consumption, which is $3.56. So right now, our average resident is paying about $33.40 on their water bill. So when we're looking at water rates, right now we need to first off ensure that we're keeping pace with inflation and we're keeping pace with what the infrastructure needs for our water utility are. You saw on Kirk's slides that our water, sewer, and solid waste are all facing large expenditure pressures, large inflationary pressures like we all have over the past 5 years. So we need to keep up with the escalating costs of providing service. We also want to make sure that we maintain fiscal sustainability. We also want to make sure that we're investing in the city's water portfolio, making sure we have secured water supplies for our Avondale's residents and businesses. As you've heard from Kirk, there's the drought declaration on the Colorado River, which may impact the water supplies we have. So it's important that we continue to invest in other water sources. We also need to make sure that we comply with federal regulations related to the Safe Drinking Water Act. And we want to make sure we have transparency on the purpose of our rate increases. So I'm going to go step through a financial forecast for the water utility right now. So we have a reserve requirement for our water utility, and that is 6 months of operating expenses we keep in reserves in case there is of any emergency or any significant issue. So if we were not to raise rates and we did not have to worry about the Bartlett Dam project and the PFAS project that Kirk was describing, we would go negative below our reserve requirement we project in fiscal year 28-29. With those 2 projects, the Bartlett Dam and the PFAS, we would be looking at going significantly more negative, especially once you get to those out years, we'd be negative $60 million. So I think this really shows the need that we have for rate increases for water utility. So our current proposal, we have a few different parts to this that I'll step through. So for those base and tier rates, January 1, 2026, we're looking to implement a 6.7%. We're proposing a 6.7% increase to those base and tiers, and then another additional 6.1% January 1 of 2027. But to also make sure that we have that transparency on the water bill for our customers, we also want to make sure that we separate out what we're looking for the additional treatment, especially related to the safe drinking water regulations and PFAS. So we're looking to have a fee of 7.5% on the total water bill for the design that would be dedicated for the design and land purchase of treatment facilities. And then an additional water resource fee to make sure that the city can continue to invest in the city's water supply, and that would be 6.2% on the total bill, and that would also go into effect January 1, 2026. So this is how that proposal would look on the average water bill. So you can see that that water bill that we first went through, that $33.40 water bill. So January 1, 2026, with the changes that we're proposing, that would go to $40.22, so about a $6.82 per month change, about a 20% change overall on the water bill. And then additionally, in January 1, 27, you see that increases again with that more that inflationary rate increase at 6.1% to $42.66, $2.44 per month. You can see that the treatment fee and the resource fee do also increase with that, but that's just because of the fact that the base water bill is going up, so those percentages would collect just a little bit more. So with those proposed rate changes, we are projecting that we would be able to stay above our reserve requirement throughout our 10-year financial forecast. Next, going into sewer rates. So the way sewer rates are structured is just a little bit simpler than water. So we have a base charge related to that meter size, that the meter that's connected to your house. Though for sewer, it's $9.16. Then we take what we call the water winter average for residential customers. So how much water you're consuming during those very low consumption months when your landscaping doesn't need as much water. We say, okay, so you consume this much water, we take 80% of that, and that becomes your sewer bill for the next 12 months. We have a consumption charge related to what we project your consumption is, and that is $4.53 per 1,000 gallons, and that is across all residential and business customers. So for our benchmark sewer bill, we typically project our residential customers using about 8,000 gallons. So we have a sewer usage fee of $9.16. So if they have a usage of 8,000 gallons, that rate is $4.53 for a total usage fee of $36.24 for a total bill of $45.40. With our sewer utility financial forecast, without a rate increase, we'd project that we'd go below our reserve requirement in fiscal year 23 or fiscal year 33. So it's not as dire of a forecast as it is for water, but there is still some need for an inflationary increase for sewer utility. So right now we're recommending a 2% rate increase that would become effective January 1 of 26. So that would raise that current bill from $45.40 to $46.30, a 90-cent per month increase. And then we would propose another 2% increase January 1 of 27, and that would bring that bill up to $47.21, another 91-cent increase. So with that projected rate increases, we would project that we would stay above our reserve requirement throughout our financial forecast. Finally, going into solid waste. Solid waste has the easiest rate structure. So there's not a lot of math involved in here. So if you have one trash can, one recycling can, you get the monthly bulk service. That is $27 a month currently. If you have two trash cans, one recycling can, and monthly bulk, that's $43 a month. And we also have that special one-time pickup fee that Kirk was talking about for $28. So by far, the vast majority of our residential customers have the one trash can, one recycling can bill. So that is $27 currently. With solid waste, our financial forecast, you can see that we are projecting we'd go below our reserve requirement. So our reserve requirement for solid waste is 4 months of operating expenses. So we project we'd go below that reserve requirement in fiscal year 27. And you can see how that forecast gets progressively more negative over the forecast period. That is really driven by the fact that, well, the trucks related to pickup of solid waste have really gone up in price over the past 5 years. So what we're proposing for solid waste customers is going from $27 currently and implementing in July 1 of 25 a $1.60 rate increase, about 6% on that total solid waste bill, and then July 1 of 26 an additional $1.75 increase. So with that, with those proposed rate increase for solid waste, you can say we stay above that reserve requirement. You can see that there's kind of a dip in 28, 29, and 2030. That's because a lot of our solid waste vehicles go up for replacement then. So we replace the vast majority of our solid waste vehicles in that 3-year fiscal year time frame, and then we have a few years where the fund balance recovers, and then we go through that cycle. But we stay above the reserve requirement throughout our 10-year financial forecast. So to sum up the recommendation, so for water, we're looking at a rate increase of 6.7% on the base and tiers, that consumption fee, and then an additional 7.5% for the additional treatment fee related to the Safe Drinking Water Act requirements, and a 6.2% water resource fee. And then in 27, we'd look at a 6.1% rate increase. For sewer, we're looking at a 2% rate increase in 26 and 27. And then for solid waste, we are looking for $1.60 in fiscal year 26 and $1.75 in 27. So when it comes to that combined utility bill, so currently if you add up what we're projecting the benchmark customer is for water, sewer, and solid waste, that combined bill is $105.80 per month. If the recommended rate increases are implemented, that bill would go up to $115.13, about a $9.33 change per month, or an 8.8% rate increase. And then for January 1, 27, that bill goes up to $120.22, about a $5 increase, about a 4% increase on the total bill. So if the recommended rate increases are implemented, we'd go from being the 5th lowest to being about middle of the pack with our comparison metropolitan cities. So we'd still not be anywhere close to being the highest. And I also want to just show that we're not the only ones facing a lot of expenditure pressures with utilities. So I'm not going to go read through every one of these ones, but like, for example, Gilbert, their base fee, which is only $9.16 for us for sewer, they're proposing to increase their base fee for residential customers from $32.75 to $62.01 come April 25. Phoenix increased their rates 13% for water, 7% for wastewater. Peoria increased their total utility bill 8.4%. So a lot of cities are facing a lot of the same expenditure pressures as we are when it comes to our utility rates. So there is no action tonight, but we are looking to have a notice of intent up for council consideration on the March 3rd council agenda. So that starts the formal process for adjusting water and sewer rates, but not solid waste rates. It does not set the rates. So if we only increase the rates a penny, we would still need to pass this notice of intent by City Council. What is entailed by this is it, one, sets the date for the public hearing, which would be May 5th. Two, it also says that we must post a report to the website that has more detail on our financial projections and the recommended rate increase, and that would be done 30 days before council action on May 5th. And then a public notice would be published in the newspaper at least 20 days before council action. So these are the next steps in terms of our utility rate adoption process. So tonight is for discussion and feedback. We come back March 3rd for the notice of intent. If the notice of intent is passed by council, we do the required public noticing and outreach in March and April. Publish the notice of intent in the newspaper around April 20th. Have the public hearing on the rate adoption on May 5th. And then you can see when we would implement those rate increases for water, sewer, and solid waste. So with that, I'll open it up for questions and feedback.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Members of council, is there anybody that has questions or comments? Vice Mayor Nielsen?
I'll just make one quick comment here. I appreciate a couple of mentioned in the thing. This is really having to do with long term. I sat on the Avondale Water Board down there with the 10 municipalities there, and everybody's concerned about water and sewer and everything else. However, there's some developers that are more concerned about the next 5 to 10 years, take what they can and run, and not look for the opportunity to provide for children, grandchildren, or maybe even great-grandchildren. So I appreciate the insight, at least we're using here in Avondale, to look forward, to be able to provide for those who will come after us, and to be able to provide a nice place where water will be available, sewer will be available, as well as the other amenities that we have here. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Any other members of council? I know that when I was first appointed last year, I had the very first conversation that I had was with a resident who called my office, and I happened to be there, so I answered, and the conversation centered around utility rates. She was on a fixed income, and the increases, as you can imagine, did not make her budget very happy. So as I shared with her, that one of the factors that led to that was, and I know that even prior to me being on council, was we did not increase rates over a significant number of years. And then when when the organization realized that we were behind and needed to do the increase, it was a sudden shock. And as part of this plan, these utility rates, I don't think there's anybody up here who walks and talks with our residents to say, we're here to increase your rates. And I don't think any of us take it lightly. But as demonstrated as part of this presentation, this is not a revenue generating activity. It is keeping up with not only the pace and the costs that are associated with providing water, but even the decisions that center around that. And I know that there are other cities in terms of comparables, Goodyear being one, and residents often talking about the data centers that are coming to town. You know, ours, the ones that are coming to Avondale or nearing development, we were fortunate to require the closed loop system, which meant that we do not require the same amount of water as our neighbors. So for that, in the decisions that we have made, I'm fortunate to be able to communicate that to the resident. And having a conversation, I can only imagine with this resident as well after this in regards to rates being increased or the potential for them to be increased again. I again have to have that conversation with this resident to share with her that this is not revenue generating. This is more of keeping up to date with what is required from us. And so I take that conversation and that responsibility very seriously, but I also know from an organizational perspective that infrastructure and service, it costs money. So I look forward to many more questions, hopefully from council, maybe even some creativity or innovative thought moving forward, but here's where we are today. And so I would really appreciate I don't know if this is something we can do in terms of a road show or how we get this information to the public in terms of education. I know the public hearing will be coming up. Is that March 3rd that was referenced here?
March 3rd is just the notice of intent, so the official public hearing would be May 5th.
Okay, so May 5th, that all of us do justice of having those conversations with residents as well, so that they are educated in what we've discussed here tonight. So are there any other comments at all from other members of council? Okay, so with that being said, I appreciate, again, the presentations and the information shared. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we are at item 6, which is our summary of current events. Are there any members of council that have anything to share?
Hi, Mayor. I have something.
Okay, Councilmember White.
Thank you so much for your recognition, and thank you also to the City Manager's Office and staff. As a member of the Leadership West Class 31, best class ever, we visited Treasure House this past Monday on February 17th. Treasure House was founded by Kurt and Brenda Warner to help their eldest son, Zach, who suffered a traumatic brain injury. And it was just, it was breathtaking to see how the intellectually disabled community gets the opportunity to go to the Treasure House and possibly learn life skills so that they can become employed and possibly learn how to live on their own. And so just going there and spending time, again, with people who may be on the spectrum, have developmental disabilities, some people have unseen disabilities, seeing them have life skills and being able to live in a community, it was really amazing. Of the amount of residents that are there, only one has a driver's license, which was something that I just couldn't understand. But, you know, you have to kind of see it to believe it. So I just wanted to share Treasure House Phoenix exists and that they have a strong mission. And then, you know, if people in the community want to learn more about it, definitely visit online. When I think about the team and their team leader, Laureen Tanner, the CEO of Treasure House, she does all the fundraising for that organization pretty much by herself. And so I was just floored to know that she's able, it's a private organization. They don't get any federal funds. So when money is being taken from different places, it doesn't even stop their ability to serve the intellectually disabled because they get all private money. So I was just proud of that, and I just wanted to share that with council, and thank you for allowing me to represent this team on Leadership West Class 31.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Nielsen.
I had the opportunity last week to go to the new DeConcini Park over in Old Avondale. It is an amazing place. Thank Parks and Rec for all the work that they've done on that. They've got a place for kids there, a kid park. They've got a ninja park. And if any of you want to go to a swing that handles wheelchairs, they've got a wheelchair swing over there that's just an amazing thing. So thank you, Parks and Rec and whatever else. It was a great opportunity to be there. And then the next day or 2 days later, I had the opportunity to go downtown to GPEG and meet with 50 different Japanese delegates. The consulate general there said he's got about $1 trillion that they want to invest in the United States. And I do give credit for Jen Stein being down there. I couldn't keep track of her because she was going all over the place trying to talk with each and every one of them and strum up some business for Avondale and bring some of those technology opportunities here. So thank you for economic development and all the work that you're doing. It was just a great opportunity to see her at work and meet some of those people that she knows, and it was great. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, Councilmember Garcia.
I went to an opening of a new medical center this like 2 weeks ago. And I think it's just so wonderful that we bring those type of businesses out here, because we travel from the West Valley all the way to the East Valley all the time for medical care. You know, being a veteran, most of the places they send me to end up being in the East Valley. So knowing that now we have like a heart and arthritis place right down the street, the building looks like it does not belong where they placed it. It's like they picked it up and dropped it there. It is beautiful. The staff was wonderful. And talking about new businesses, I know Apple decided to invest back into the United States. So since we're building a lot of stuff kind of south, it would be awesome to maybe look into getting them to build something so we could have revenue for that from Apple as well here in Avondale.
I can see Jen giving the thumbs up. Very good. I, last week on Friday, had the awesome opportunity of attending Luke Air Force Base Rodeo Awards, which consist of not only service members, but civilian personnel. And I got to tell you, if you've never been in a hangar as jets are flying by, if it doesn't make you feel patriotic, I don't know what will. But most importantly, what I wanted to convey is just how important Luke is to our region. In addition to that, not only the members who live within our city limits, but those that shop at our stores, eat at our restaurants. And one of the things that was conveyed by a number of the members there was that as we transition from the F-16 to the F-35, the best fighter pilots in the world are training right here in our area. So that's awesome, and it's time. Okay. Next item is adjournment. I see we got a motion from Councilmember Condi, a second from Councilmember Solorio. Please vote. Everybody please drive home safely and have a great rest of the evening and week.